Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky is out and about. When she is not in Washington, she is traveling around her district, getting to know people, talking to people, finding out what their concerns are. You might have seen her at the Stephanie Miller Sexy Liberal broadcast a while back. I also ran into her at David Orr's 80th birthday party. This woman is everywhere. And I'm so happy that she could spend a little bit of time with us today. Jan, how are you?
I am excited and just doing fine. How about you?
I'm good. I have a little bit of laryngitis, but if you could just ignore that, I'm good. You know, I was listening, I'm a former constituent. I was redistricted into Brad Schneider's district, but I still get the emails with Jan's videos, and I was watching the most recent one, and you make a very important distinction. You talk about that. People should be aware that right now it's open enrollment for Medicare. That means there's a time period where we can change our plans if we choose to do that. And she wanted people to know something that we've been talking about on this show, that Medicare Advantage is not government Medicare. It is private insurance. And sometimes when people have gotten really sick, they've discovered to their dismay that just like with private insurance, they will get turned down for some of the care. And I mentioned, I played a clip, Jan, of you talking about that. And I've already started getting some texts from people. People are very confused by this, aren't they?
Of course, Medicare Advantage is advertising nonstop and saying, oh, you know, this is Medicare, but it really isn't. It's private insurance. Medicare Advantage is private insurance. And so it may, if you're real healthy, it may be good. It may be okay for you. You may get some extra benefits. But if you get sick and you really need help, Medicare Advantage has been denying care. Beyond that, we are paying more for Medicare. We, taxpayers, have been paying more for Medicare Advantage, which at first they said was going to be cheaper than the cost of Medicare, but that's not true. We are paying so much more that if we took all these bonuses off from Medicare Advantage, we could have, in traditional Medicare, we could have eyes, ears, dental, all those things we could afford under Medicare. I have legislation that actually would prohibit Medicare Advantage from using the word Medicare, you know, because it's not. It's private insurance.
People get so confused.
I know. So I would go to traditional Medicare and sign up. And some of these scams, well, I don't know if I want to call it a scam. It turns out
it's
to be
misleading.
Yeah, it's misleading. Right.
Yeah. Again, I was watching your most recent video. You visited a dairy farm? Tell me about that. That doesn't seem like a typical congressional stop.
It was fantastic, though, because I have, for most of my career, 25 years in the Congress, been in only Cook County. And now I'm in Lake and McHenry counties. And so in Lake County, I was out at a wonderful farm, and these calves that were just born that day, and the cows who are treated like queens. Oh, my God. It was so fabulous. A bunch of my staff came along. It was the most glorious day on the farm. So now in my district, I have real farmland. And that is a new thing for me, and it was so much fun. Yeah, it was fun.
That's so cool. So I know that, you know, responsible elected officials take this time when they're not required to be in Washington to meet with constituents, talk to constituents, find out what people's cares and concerns are. What are you hearing from your constituents?
Well, I was just at a meeting yesterday talking about health care. And, you know, it's just so frustrating to me in this richest country in the world, at the richest moment in history, that so many people, and particularly people with mental illness, it's really hard to get the care that we need. And this is a time when so many people are feeling frustrated and anxious and really need the help. And so it's a problem. And a young woman that works for me and since she is very young, has had a wonderful, successful medication to address her anxiety and sleep issues. And her doctor prescribed it every year for the last several years. And now the insurance company calls and said, well, we're not going to cover it anymore because we don't think it's necessary health care. You don't need it. This is the insurance company telling her they will no longer cover this, and because they are saying that it's not necessary. Really? You have insurance companies now deciding?
They've made that decision.
Right. I mean, it's just
They've
terrible.
made that decision, not a doctor.
No, the doctor has been going to bat for her, no, they're saying, no, it's not medically necessary. Really? So, I mean, it's frustrating to me. Healthcare, you would think in most industrialized countries, it's just part of being a resident and a citizen of that country. You get the health care. Not here in the United States. And, of course, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, we pay, 2 to 3 times more than any other country, people in other countries, for the exact same medications. So what are we, chumps or something?
That's what's so crazy. You go to Canada or you go to Europe and they look at you like you're crazy when you tell them how much something costs over here. It's just absurd.
It is absurd. So now I have legislation that would make it absolutely legal to import the pharmaceuticals from other countries, for certain countries, for the UK and for Canada. And, you could just bring the cheaper product here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, healthcare is always going to be, top of anybody's list of concerns. What I keep hearing that people who obviously aren't spending any time doing any reading, the one thing is, but Trump was so good for the economy. Trump was so good for the economy. You were in Congress before Donald Trump, during Donald Trump, and after Donald Trump. How do you think, would you judge Donald Trump's handling of the economy?
Well, if you were a multi-millionaire, billionaire, you'd say it was really great, because what Donald Trump did was say that there was going to be a $2 trillion tax cut for certain people if you were wealthy. Most of that tax cut went to the wealthiest Americans and created the biggest deficit that we had ever seen. This is not what was good about the economy when Trump was head of it for ordinary people. Terrible. And so now, during the Biden-Harris administration, we saw workers and everyday people having what is the best economy in the world right now, and doing a lot better. I know.
What was it? The Economist. What was their? Yeah. The Economist. One of their more recent issues. The title across the front page was "The Envy of the World." This is The Economist, one of the driest publications you're ever going to get your hands on. And, we are the envy of the world.
That's true. But I want to say that still, everyday people are struggling to put the food on the table, to be able to afford a home. And that is why that Kamala Harris has made some very important promises to make housing less expensive, to help small businesses get started, very specific programs and she has also talked about price gouging, because some of the companies, like the grocery stores, have been merging and then charging people more for the necessary things because they can. That's the reason they keep the prices high, because they can. And so, we have to do something about that. And Kamala Harris has said, yep, she wants to eliminate price gouging. I have a bill, along with Elizabeth Warren, that would do that, too. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to hear more about that. We need to take a real quick break. I'm talking to Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, represents Illinois' 9th District. We'll be back right after this.
This is Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky joins me. She represents Illinois' 9th District, and she was just talking about a bill that she and Elizabeth Warren have been working on. Tell us a little bit more about that, Jan.
Well, this would end price gouging and hold these companies that are just doing what they want to do just because they can to make the products more expensive. And as I said, a lot of that is being done by the people who at the grocery stores, and we can't have that. So we have to send out a signal that when companies, even if their own prices are going down to manufacture their products, they are raising the cost because they can, and we're going to stop price gouging. And that's what Kamala Harris has made a priority of, which is absolutely right. Because, what happens is then people get really mad when they go to the grocery store and look, our economy isn't good because these prices are so high. It's the companies that are being so greedy, and we're going to have to stop that.
Yeah. I know that you've been on the campaign trail, and I believe did you see Governor Walz last weekend?
Oh my God, it was so fabulous. We a group of us, members of Congress, but also some of the young people who have been working day and night to get the vote out, met him at the airport when he landed. He had come in for a fundraiser, and he not only was he so gracious to the members of Congress and the big shots, if you will, but he insisted to go over to the young people and find out more about what they were doing, which is Operation Swing State, where we're sending people to Wisconsin and to Michigan. And just to know, over the last weekend, it adds up to 160 doors. No, 115,000 doors knocked. Think of that.
Wow.
115,000 doors knocked. People are so excited. And so all the young people were there. He wanted a T-shirt for Operation Swing State. And he was, he's such a good guy. And of course, he was a teacher, and he's a parent and a coach. So he also definitely wanted to be with the kids who are actually doing the groundwork to win this election. They were thrilled. So I love him for that. I served with him, and I have a lot of family in Rochester, Minnesota. He knows that. He always mentions that, we helped him get to be the congressman for 10 years. And anyway, he's just a lovely person, I think.
Yeah, he really is. He's terribly genuine. He's terribly real. Even when he was given grief about, he didn't know the difference between IVF and IUI. Well, who does? For goodness sake, who does?
I know we use those acronyms as if everybody is supposed to know. We're talking about in vitro fertilization, which, of course, the Republicans and Donald Trump want to make it impossible for families who can't on their own have their own, to get pregnant. And IVF, in vitro fertilization, is a great answer for people who want to be parents, and they want to end it. It's terrible.
Jen, while we were talking, somebody texted in, and they were wondering if we pay such high drug prices because the drug prices we pay are actually subsidizing that drug for the rest of the world. What do you think about that?
That's what I hear from the Republicans, that, if we don't allow Big Pharma to charge whatever they want, then they wouldn't be able to make these life-saving drugs. The taxpayers of the United States do a lot of that research through the health departments, and we spend a lot of money as taxpayers doing that work. What they are doing is absolutely price gouging. And why isn't it? Why is it that we should pay the highest price? And even if whoever that person said, and for the rest of the world, really? And you think that these companies aren't, they made millions and millions of additional dollars. The top few pharmaceutical companies are raking in the dough right now. And this is not fair to people who then can't afford their medication. Mm-hmm. So I hear that all the time. Oh yeah, well that's because we give them all that money, we get all these wonderful cures. Well, we get those cures also in large part by the government, the federal government, and U.S. taxpayers doing a lot of that research and development.
Yeah. And, it's not even all their own profits that they're putting back in. I mean, all somebody has to do is, buy some stock and look at those yearly booklets that they send out before they have their big stockholders meeting about how much money we've made and how great we're doing.
Someone that works for works for the government in healthcare was at an event with the big shot CEOs, and there was an announcement. I can't remember what the disease was. That it was found that only one dose would cure this. Now, I would think, isn't that fabulous? Mm-hmm. If there's, and that the pharmaceutical hotshots were saying, that's really not good for us. We want something that takes a number of doses, because if it's just cures somebody with just one, then we're going to lose money. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. It's about the money.
It is about the money. That's why there's so little research into things like home remedies. There's a newsletter I read that's put out by a pharmacist, and what they do is they take letters from people saying, I had this problem and I tried this. My grandmother told me to try this and it really worked. And then they look into it and they say, well, there's actually a scientific reason why that may have worked. Research done 10 years ago in Europe showed that this ingredient has this effect. And they take home remedies and they explain what, if any, science they can find behind them. But every once in a while, somebody will write in and say, well, why don't more people know about this? Why isn't this more readily available? Over-the-counter type stuff. But that's the bottom line. Stuff that is a home remedy doesn't really make them a lot of money. even drugs where the patents have all expired. They're not going to be doing research with those drugs. They want new drugs that, where they can make a lot of money for the next 10 years. It's really a very consumer unfriendly system we've got going here.
Absolutely. And, the pharmaceutical companies oppose the idea that Medicare ought to be able to negotiate for lower drug prices. They oppose the idea that insulin for seniors is now $35 a month. They were opposing those things. And it's just absolutely, it's not in the interest of ordinary Americans. But also, we know that one of the things that Kamala Harris has talked about, that home and community-based services are now going to be eligible for under Medicare, and there are millions of people who are hoping to be able to age in place and be able to afford home and community-based services. So this is a really big deal, but now Medicare will be covering those. This is a landmark change. It's great.
Yeah. Where are you going to be, Jan? Where can people see you to shake your hand?
Well, I'm going to hopefully be able to travel to Wisconsin this next weekend. This weekend, I think also to Wisconsin, knock on doors. I've been a couple of times now to Michigan. These are swing states. In other words, if we win those two states, it is likely that we're going to win the election. So it's very, very important to make sure that everybody gets out to vote. This is not rocket science. It's all about turnout, and turnout.
Yes.
And, I also want to urge people, don't watch all the scary news. Oh, the margin of error, it's all so close. Looks like Trump may be winning. I like to think about the margin of effort. And so if you're feeling scared, get to work.
That's
Call
right.
your friends. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky represents Illinois' 9th District. Jan, so good to talk to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate you so much, and I hope you feel good. Thanks, Joan.
Thank you.